First, you're going to need about 3 skeins of Lion Brand Re-Spun Thick and Quick. Now, these are 12 ounce or 223 yard skeins, and this is number 6 yarn. So you can use another yarn. Just keep in mind that I used just shy of 3 skeins of this Re-Spun Thick and Quick. And then you'll also need an 8mm crochet hook, a pair of scissors, and a tapestry needle for weaving in your ends. All right, so I have a partially finished scarf here, and actually I'm going to zoom out a bit so you can see better. All right, so I just want to show you a little bit of what this scarf is going to look like. All right, so we're going to start by making rows of half double crochet in the front loop only to create these knit-like ridges, and we're gonna have those on either side here. All right, now I did forget to say this in the beginning, but you are going to need 2 stitch markers because you're going to need to mark the 25th stitch of each end. Okay, so this pocket scarf only has the arrow stitch in the center of the scarf, okay, and then on each end, now this end doesn't have a pocket, it's really long. This is why you're going to want to mark these so you know when and where to start making your arrow stitches, okay? Because you're going to be making, once you make your last arrow stitch, now you're just going to be working alternating between single crochet rows and double crochet rows, and that is so that you have room. I'll show you this end where I have the pocket, because that's where your pocket is going to go, okay? So I just wanted to show you that first before we get started. So make sure, again, I failed to say this in the beginning, so make sure you grab 2 stitch markers so that you can mark each end of this scarf where we're going to be starting our arrow stitch rows. For the purpose of this video, I will be making a smaller version of this scarf. I will not be making a full scarf on camera. However, I'm going to walk you through each step, and I'm going to let you know what the stitch count is at the end of every row so that you can follow along and make a full-length scarf. So to begin, you are going to work 159 foundation half double crochet stitches. So in order to make a foundation half double crochet, if you don't know how to do that, you're going to chain 2. I just chained 2 here, yarn over, and now you're going to look for the back bump of the chain, the very first chain you just made. Insert your hook into that back bump and pull up a loop. You now have 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over, pull through 1. You still have 3 loops on your hook, and then yarn over and pull through all 3. And that's your first foundation half double crochet stitch. I'll walk you through that again. So you're going to yarn over, and now instead of a back bump, we're looking for 2 loops, much like working under a normal stitch. You've got 2 loops here on the back. See that? And now you're going to pull up a loop. That's going to give you 3 loops on your hook now. Yarn over, pull through 1, still 3 loops, and then yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. I'll walk you through that one more time. So you're going to yarn over, insert your hook into or underneath these 2 loops here, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 1, and yarn over and pull through all 3. So you're just going to continue to repeat these steps. You're going to make 159 of these foundation half double crochet stitches. So go ahead and pause this video, work your foundation row, and then I'll meet you back here to start the second row. All right, welcome back. So you should now have 159 foundation half double crochet stitches. Now mine is much shorter than that. Again, I am only making a portion of this scarf, so my rows are going to be shorter than yours, but you should have 159 foundation half double crochet stitches. So now you're going to chain 1 and turn your work now. See, we've been working from this side underneath here. Now you're basically just going to kind of flip your work over, and now you'll recognize this as being the right side or the top side that we normally work from. So for the next 4 rows, we are going to be working the camel stitch. And if you don't know how to do that, it is very simple. They are just half double crochet stitches placed into the front loop. So I'm just going to show you really quick. So if you're not familiar, half double crochet stitches actually have 3 loops. So we normally work under these 2 loops on the top, right? But there is actually a 3rd loop, and it is this loop here. This is the front loop, and we're going to be working our half double crochet stitches on this row in this front loop. Now, when we turn our work, when we chain one and turn our work and we begin working from this side again, that front loop is going to be on the opposite side. But for right now, it's going to be on the front side. So we're going to be working all of our half double crochet stitches into this front loop. And we're not going to be touching these top 2 loops, the ones that we normally work into. All right, so to make your first stitch, again, you're just going to work your half double crochet stitch into this front loop here. And now you're just going to continue to work 1 half double crochet in the front loop all the way across. So go ahead and pause this video. Meet me back here once you finish that row, and then we will start row 3 together. Welcome back. So once you've reached the end of this second row, go ahead and chain 1 and turn your work. And now you'll see how working in that front loop pushed these top 2 loops out to the front of our work. And now we have this really pretty, it almost looks like a knit look on the front of our work here. So now for this third row, the front loop is now going to be on the back. So we're going to be working our half double crochet stitches in this back loop. And once again, that is going to push these top 2 loops out to the front, still creating this nice knit look ridge here. So you're just working a half double crochet stitch in each stitch all the way across in the front loop, but it's now on the back side of our work. So go ahead and pause this video, work those half double crochet stitches in the front loop, which is, again, it's really on the back now because we've turned our work. And then I will meet you back here to start the next row. Now, once you've come to the end of that third row, if you haven't already, go ahead and chain 1 and turn your work. And now you'll notice that on this row, the front loop is once again in front of us. So for this row, you are going to continue with your half double crochets in the front loop only. So go ahead and pause this video and finish up this row of half double crochet stitches, and then I will meet you back here to start the next row. And once you've finished up that 4th row, if you haven't already, go ahead and chain 1 and turn your work. All right, so once you've completed those first 4 rows of the camel stitch, your work should look like this. So it should look flat on the back, but you should have these knit look ridges here on the front of your work. So this next row, we are going to continue working in the front loop only, but we're going to be working single crochets as opposed to half double crochet stitches. And once again, when we're working from this side of our work, that front loop is on the opposite side now. So before we begin this next row, I do want you to count 25 stitches from each end, and you're going to place a stitch marker in the 25th stitch from each end. So you're going to count 25 stitches up from this end, and then you're going to go to the other end and also count 25 stitches up from this end as well. Now again, I am not crocheting an entire scarf on camera, so my space in between my stitch markers looks much shorter than what your space is going to look like. So go ahead and pause this video, place your stitch markers. Again, you're going to count 25 stitches up from each end and place it in the 25th stitch from each end. And then I will meet you back here. We will start this next row together. All right, so once your stitch markers are placed, we're going to begin this row. Once again, your front loop of the half double crochet stitches is along this back side now. So you're going to start by working 1 single crochet in each of the next 24 stitches. So all the way up to, so you'll stop here, up to that first stitch marker. So go ahead and pause this video, work your single crochet stitches in that front loop that is on the back side now, and then I'll meet you back here and we will work the sequence in between the 2 stitch markers. All right, now once you've worked those 24 single crochet stitches, we're going to work a sequence in between your two stitch markers here. It's a really simple sequence, and we are going to continue to work in that front loop all the way across this row. And then after this row, we're going to go back to working under both loops. So starting with the first stitch that has a stitch marker, you're going to work a single crochet in each of the first 3 stitches. Again, starting with the stitch that's got the stitch marker in it. Now, once you've made those 3 stitches, those 3 single crochets, you're going to chain 1, skip 1, and then work a single crochet in the next 3 stitches. And once you've completed those next 3 single crochets, chain 1, skip 1, and then 3 more single crochet stitches. So you are going to repeat this sequence all the way across until you get to your next stitch marker, and you should end with 3 single crochet stitches in each of the last 3 stitches, including the one with the stitch marker in it. So go ahead and pause this video, finish up this portion of this row, and then I'll meet you back here to finish the rest of the row. All right, so once you finish this segment of the row, you should have 3 single crochets in each of the last 3 stitches up through this stitch marker, so including the stitch that this stitch marker is in. And now you're simply going to repeat what you did at the beginning of this row. You're going to work 1 single crochet in the front loop, but again, the front loop is on the opposite side now, all the way across. So you should end with 24 single crochet stitches after this stitch marker. So go ahead and pause this video, and then I'll meet you back here to start the next row. Now, once you've finished this row of single crochet stitches, go ahead and chain 1 and turn your work. Now, before we move forward, we do need to take out our stitch markers and replace them into the stitches of the row that we just made. Again, you're going to be placing these stitch markers in the 25th stitch from each end of your scarf. All right, so to begin this next row, you're going to work 1 double crochet in each stitch. And now we are working under both loops. We don't have, these are just single crochet stitches, so we don't have that 3rd loop to work into anymore. So we're just going to work under both loops as you normally would. So you're going to work 1 double crochet stitch in each stitch all the way up until you get to this first stitch marker. So you're going to stop right before the stitch of the stitch that the stitch marker is in. So you're going to make 24 double crochet stitches total. Go ahead and pause this video, work your 24 double crochets, and then I will meet you back here to start the next portion of this row. Okay, so you should now have 24 double crochet stitches from the beginning up to the first stitch marker, not through it. We're working up into the stitch right before the stitch marker. So you should have 24 double crochet stitches. Now, for the stitches in between your stitch markers, you do have these chain 1 spaces that we made every 4th stitch. So now we are going to work 1 double crochet in each of the next 3 stitches. And now that brings us to our first chain 1 space. We're going to work a double crochet stitch in that chain 1 space. And now you're going to move on by working 1 double crochet in each of the next 3 stitches. And once you've worked those 3 double crochet stitches, that's going to bring you to your next chain 1 space, and you're going to make a double crochet in that chain 1 space. So now you're just going to pause this video. You're going to work 1 double crochet stitch in each stitch and in each chain 1 space all the way until you get to the stitch marker. Actually, you're going to work through this stitch marker. Okay, so go ahead and pause this video, work those double crochets, again, each stitch and each chain one space up through this stitch marker, and then I'll meet you back here to finish up the rest of this row. So once you have finished working those double crochet stitches, again, you're working up through this stitch marker. So you can see that my last double crochet stitch shares a stitch with my stitch marker. Now you're just going to move forward by working one double crochet stitch in each stitch all the way until you get to the end of the row. So go ahead and pause this video, finish up this row, and then this next row is actually an arrow stitch row. So I will be showing you how we're going to start working the arrow stitch in the next row. Now, once you finish that row of double crochet stitches, go ahead and chain one and turn your work. All right, now once you've finished that row, if you haven't already, go ahead and replace your stitch markers. You're just going to move up a row and mark the 25th stitch from each end of your scarf. And once you have replaced those stitch markers, it's time to begin this next row, and we're going to be working the arrow stitch in this row. But for the first 24 stitches, we are just going to be working regular old single crochet stitches. So go ahead and pause this video, work one single crochet stitch in each of the next 24 stitches, so that will be up to your first stitch marker, and then I will meet you back here to start the arrow stitch sequence. All right, so once you've worked those first 24 single crochet stitches, we're going to start the arrow stitch sequence, and that begins with just a single crochet in this very first stitch with your stitch marker in it. And now we're going to work what I like to call a half arrow stitch. So the first arrow stitch and the last arrow stitch in between your stitch markers here are going to look different than the rest of the arrow stitches in the center. So we're going to start by working a half arrow stitch. And now I want you to locate the chain one space. I got to find it myself here. There it is. The chain one space from 2 rows below. So it's a little far away from where your hook currently is. It's about 3 stitches down, and you're going to look 2 rows below, and we want to look for that unworked stitch in the center of that chain one space. We're going to be working into this stitch. We're going to make a treble crochet. So to do that, you're going to yarn over twice, look for that unworked stitch, and then insert your hook through that stitch and pull up a loop. You've now got 4 loops on your hook. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over and pull through 2. And now you've worked your first half arrow stitch, and you can see that it's on a slant, and that's okay. That's what you want it to look like. It is going to be on a slant. Now I want you to look behind this half arrow stitch you just made. There is this unworked stitch directly behind this half arrow stitch you just made. You're going to skip this. And now from here, this is going to start a sequence that you're going to repeat all the way across. So you're going to work a single crochet stitch into this next stitch, chain 1, skip 1. Oh, I got one of my hairs in here. So you're going to skip this next stitch and then work a single crochet stitch in this next stitch. And now we are going to work a full arrow stitch. So I want you to look for this stitch that you just finished this half arrow stitch in. We're going to share this stitch with the first part of our full arrow stitch. So yarn over twice, kind of reach your hook back and insert it into that same stitch where you finished the first half arrow, and pull up a loop. That's going to give you 4 loops on your hook. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and now you're going to leave these 2 loops on your hook. You're going to yarn over twice more, and we're going to locate the next chain 1 space from 2 rows below. So here it is, and then there is that unworked stitch. We're going to work the rest of this arrow stitch into this unworked stitch in the center of that chain 1 space. So pull up a loop, and now you've got 5 loops on your hook. Pull through 2, pull through 2, and now you're going to be left with 3 loops. You're going to yarn over and pull through all 3 loops, and that is your first full arrow stitch. So now we're going to repeat that same sequence one more time. So I want you to look behind that full arrow stitch you just made. There's this unworked stitch behind it. You're going to skip that, and you're going to work a single crochet stitch into this next stitch here. Chain 1, skip 1, work a single crochet in the next stitch. And now it's time to work another arrow stitch. So yarn over twice, insert your hook into the same stitch where you finished your last arrow stitch, and pull up a loop, 4 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, leave these 2 loops on your hook, yarn over twice more, and locate the next chain 1 space, and then look for that unworked stitch in the center of that chain 1 space, insert your hook and pull up a loop. That gives you 5 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and now you're going to finish this stitch by yarning over and pulling through all 3 of these loops. And your second full arrow stitch is made. So you're going to repeat this sequence, okay? You're going to do a single crochet. Well, you want to skip this unworked stitch behind the arrow you just made. Single crochet, chain 1, skip 1, single crochet, arrow stitch. And you're going to just continue the same sequence that we did with these 2 arrow stitches all the way until you get to the last 2 stitches at your stitch marker, okay? So the stitch your stitch marker is in and the stitch before that. You're going to leave those 2 stitches alone. So pause this video, work that sequence all the way until you get to these 2 stitches here, and then I'll meet you back here to finish up our arrow sequence and then finish up the rest of this row. All right, welcome back. So your work should look something like this. You should have your arrow stitch. Well, of course, you're going to have a lot more than I do because I'm making a smaller version. But you should have your arrow stitch sequence all in the middle here, and then we should only have 2 stitches left to include the one with the stitch marker. So we're going to work a half arrow stitch to close out this sequence and then continue on with the row. So yarn over twice, insert your hook into the same stitch that you finished your last arrow stitch in, and pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. And now you're going to look at this stitch that's behind the half arrow stitch you just made, that unworked stitch. You're going to skip that, and we're just going to finish by making a single crochet stitch in the stitch with the stitch marker in it. And now for the rest of this row, you are just going to work 1 single crochet in each stitch all the way across. So go ahead and pause this video, finish up this row, and then I will meet you back here to start the next row. All right, so once you've finished up that row, go ahead and chain 1 and turn your work. And then just take a moment, pause the video if you need to replace your stitch markers into the 25th stitch from each end in this row that you just made. All right, once your stitch markers have been replaced, this next row is actually very simple. It's going to be a repeat of this double crochet row that we made 2 rows ago. And basically all you're going to do is you're going to work a double crochet stitch in each stitch all the way across, and then in each chain 1 space in this section in between your stitch markers. So go ahead and pause this video, work 1 double crochet stitch in each stitch and in each chain 1 space all the way across. You should end with 159 double crochet stitches total for this row. And then I will meet you back here to start our next arrow row. Welcome back to my arrow scarf tutorial. So once you've finished up this double crochet row, just take a moment to replace your stitch markers into the 25th stitch from each end. And if you haven't already, just go ahead and chain 1 and turn your work. And then I just want to take a moment to show you that the next 5 rows of this scarf, you're going to alternate an arrow row and a double crochet row. So these last 2 rows that you just made, you're just going to alternate those. You're going to do an arrow row, double crochet, arrow, double crochet, ending with an arrow row. So I'm going to go ahead and get you started on this next arrow stitch row, and then I'm going to leave you to it until we get to the finishing rows of this scarf. So to start our arrow stitch row, you're going to work 1 single crochet in each stitch all the way up to the first stitch marker. So that is 24 single crochet stitches. So go ahead and pause this video, work those 24 single crochet stitches, and then I'll meet you back here to start the arrow stitch sequence. Once you've completed those first 24 single crochet stitches, you're going to make a single crochet in the stitch with the stitch marker, and now we're going to work a half arrow stitch. So to do that, first I want you to locate, now it's easier to see on these rows, you're going to basically look in the center of this V, and then there is your chain 1 space with the unworked stitch in the middle. It's a lot easier to see once you have 1 arrow stitch row already completed. So to work our half arrow, you're going to yarn over twice, insert your hook into that unworked stitch in the center of that chain 1 space, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over and pull through 2. And you've made your first half arrow stitch. Now moving forward, you're going to look at the unworked stitch behind that half arrow you just made, skip that, and now you're going to work a single crochet into the next stitch, chain 1, skip 1, single crochet. And now we're going to work a full arrow stitch, which you should be pretty familiar with since you've already done a full row of them, but I'll walk you through it really quickly. So you're going to yarn over twice, insert your hook into the same stitch where you made your half arrow stitch, and pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, leave these 2 loops on your hook, and yarn over twice more, and you're going to locate the next chain 1 space. Again, it's in the center of the V, really easy to find now. Insert your hook into that unworked stitch in the center of the V, or in the center of that chain 1 space, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. So you're just going to go ahead and continue to repeat this arrow stitch sequence all the way until you get to these last 2 stitches here. So the stitch with the stitch marker and the one before it. So go ahead and pause this video, work up to these last 2 stitches, and then I'll meet you back here to finish up this sequence and the rest of this row. Once you've worked up to these last 2 stitches, we're going to make a half arrow stitch to end this sequence. So yarn over twice, go back and insert your hook into the last stitch where you finished your arrow stitch in, the last arrow stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over and pull through 2. And now you're going to skip the stitch, the unworked stitch that's behind this half arrow stitch you just made, and you're simply going to work a single crochet stitch in this stitch with the stitch marker. And now finishing up this row, you're going to work 1 single crochet stitch in each stitch all the way across. So go ahead and put this video on pause, finish up this row, and then I'll meet you back here to start the next row. Now once you finish this row, go ahead and chain 1 and turn your work, and then just take a moment to replace your stitch markers into the new row that you just made. All right, so moving forward, so this is what your scarf looks like now. You've put on 2 rows of the arrow stitch, and then you have a row of double crochet stitches in between these 2 rows. All right, so here is my, I'm gonna zoom out a little bit so you can see better. So here is my full scarf. I feel like I'm showing you a map. You know those maps where it's like, you are here. So you are here, okay? This is the row that you just finished. You need to put on 2 more arrow stitch rows. So after this again, you are here, you just finished this second arrow stitch row. you're going to do a double crochet row, an arrow row, a double crochet row, and an arrow row. So you have four rows total to put on. So you're going to, right now, you're going to repeat that double crochet row, and then you're going to put on another arrow row, just like you just did, another double crochet row, and then another arrow row, and you're going to end with that. So four more rows total, okay? And these rows are going to be done just like the other rows, okay? You're going to remember to place your stitch markers so that you have this plain, you've got this plain area down here where we're going to place our pockets. Okay, so remember to continue to place your stitch markers so that you know where to start each arrow row. So go ahead and put this video on pause. Again, you're going to work 4 more rows, a double crochet, an arrow, a double crochet, ending with an arrow stitch row. And then I'll meet you back here. I'm going to show you how we're going to put these finishing rows on, and then after that, I'm going to show you how to make the pockets and how to put the pockets on as well. Okay, welcome back to my crochet arrow scarf tutorial. So my scarf looks exactly the same as when I left you, but again, I am not making a full scarf. So your scarf, you should be here, okay? So you should have all of these rows. You've got the rows of the camel stitch down here, and then 4 rows of the arrow stitch with those double crochet rows in between. So we are now going to start these last 5 rows. Now for these rows, you can go ahead and take out your stitch markers. I've already taken mine out. You don't need them anymore for this pattern. So you can just go ahead and set those aside. And if you haven't already, go ahead and chain 1 and turn your work. And now these rows are going to be just like these first rows that we put on, okay? So this first row, we are going to just make 1 half double crochet in each stitch and in each chain 1 space. Now, if we were continuing the arrow stitch sequence, this row would normally be a double crochet row, right? Where we do double crochets all the way across, but we're going to do half double crochets instead because we need that 3rd loop to crochet into on the next few rows. So you're just going to work 1 half double crochet in each stitch and in each chain 1 space all the way across for a total of 159 half double crochet stitches. So go ahead and pause this video, work those half double crochet stitches all the way across, and then I will meet you back here to start the next row. All right, and once you've come to the end of that row, go ahead and chain 1 and turn your work. So for the next few rows, we are going to be working the camel stitch just like we did in these first rows here. Now, because of the way our work is facing us, that front loop of these half double crochet stitches is actually on the back side right now. So for this row, you're just going to go ahead and work a half double crochet stitch in each stitch in that front loop, but again, it's on the back side right now. Just do that all the way across. So go ahead and pause this video, work this row of half double crochet stitches, and I will meet you back here to start the next row. And once you finish that row, go ahead and chain 1 and turn your work. And now when we're working from this side, the front loop is once again facing us. So we are going to work our half double crochets into this loop in each stitch all the way across. So go ahead and pause this video, work this row of half double crochet stitches in this front loop, and then I'll meet you back here to start the next row. Okay, and once you've reached the end of this row, go ahead and chain 1 and turn your work. And now that we're working from this side, that front loop is going to be behind the stitch now. So for this row, you're going to just work 1 half double crochet in that loop, in this front loop, but again, it's on this side of the work now, so it's really behind our work. You're going to work 1 half double crochet in that loop all the way across until you get to the end. So go ahead and pause this video, and then I'll meet you back here to start the next row. All right, and once you have finished that row, I actually lied before, and this is the last row. You have finished the scarf portion of this scarf. So this is what your scarf should look like. I'll zoom out a little bit. You should have these nice ridges on either end of your arrow stitch rows. And again, I did not make a full scarf, so you should have a total of 4 arrow rows all the way up. So now it's time to make the pockets and place them on our scarf. Okay, so in order to make the pocket, we're going to make a foundation single crochet row. We'll be making 16 foundation single crochets. So if you don't know how to do a foundation single crochet, you're going to chain 2. And now you're going to insert your hook into this back bump of the very first chain that you made and pull up a loop. You've got 2 loops on your hook. Yarn over, pull through 1, and yarn over and pull through 2. And now we're going to work another foundation single crochet. So you're going to insert your hook under both of these loops now. So it's going to look like inserting your hook into a regular stitch now. Insert your hook under both those loops, pull up a loop, 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2. I'll repeat that again. So insert your hook under both of those loops, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 1, and yarn over and pull through 2. So you're going to continue. This is not going to be a long row. You're going to make 16 of these foundation single crochets total. So go ahead and pause this video and then meet me back here and we will start the next row of this pocket. All right, and once you've worked all 16 of your foundation single crochet stitches, you're going to go ahead and chain 1 and then turn your work over so now the top part of the stitches is facing you. And now you are going to work a total of 25 rows of single crochet stitches. Now, honestly, you don't have to do 25 rows. You can do 27 or 30 rows even if you want really deep pockets. For me, I found that 26 rows total was a good pocket size for me. So go ahead and work as many single crochet rows as you'd like. Again, my pockets are a total of 26 rows of single crochet stitches. And you're going to make 2 of these. You want to make sure you have a pocket for each side of your scarf. So go ahead and work 2 of these pockets. Again, 26 rows of single crochet stitches. And then I will meet you back here and we will put them onto our scarf. Okay, welcome back. So I've got my finished pocket here. And I have not fastened off yet. As you can see, I'm still attached to the skein. So we want to make sure that we leave a tail long enough for sewing onto our scarf. We don't want to run out of yarn while we're sewing because I've done that before and that is no fun. So this is how I gauge how much I need to leave on. So I'm going to take my working yarn here. When we sew this, now when we sew this onto the scarf, this is the opening, okay? This is where your hand is going to go in here. So we're going to sew along these 3 sides here. All right, and we want to make sure that we have enough yarn to do so. So I take my working yarn and I simply lay it down this side. I turn the corner, go along the bottom, and then I turn the corner again and go up this side with it. All right, and then I take this. So this is how much went around those 3 sides, and I double it. So I grab, this is where I'm going to cut my yarn now. So I can set this aside. I'm actually going to move my little candle out of the way as well. So you are going to pick one end of your scarf. And you see how we've got these rows, these nice ridges on the edges of our scarf. You're going to nestle your pocket right in between those rows. So I'm going to place this, I'm going to make sure I kind of line up the bottom with the bottom of my scarf, but then I'm going to place my scarf in between these rows here. Now, once my pocket is straight, once I've determined that it's straight across, I like to take a couple of stitch markers and just tack it down so that it doesn't move while I am stitching it together. because there's nothing worse than sewing on your pocket only to discover that you sewed it on crooked because you did not have your pocket tacked down. Don't ask me how I know that. All right, so I've got my pocket pinned into place here. So now I'm just going to thread this end onto a tapestry needle, and I'm just going to begin sewing this. And I just sew along. This is where my tail starts, on this corner. So I'm just going to sew along here and then along the bottom and then back up this side. So I'm going to insert. So I've just finished sewing on my pocket. I fastened off my yarn and wove my end in. So now I can just take my stitch markers out. So now the question is to fringe or not to fringe. I personally like fringe, even though I don't like putting it on. I really do love fringe on the bottom of a scarf. So I'm going to add some fringe to this. I'm going to show you how I do that really quickly if you want to know that. Okay, so the way I do fringe, I do tend to make my fringe a little on the long side, but that's because I like having room to be able to trim it if need be, because I've made my fringe too short. I've made that mistake, and I'd rather just make it extra long in the beginning and have the room to be able to trim it as I want to. So I just kind of I pinch the end of my working yarn and I wrap it around my forearm, around my elbow there, and I wrap it around several times. For the sake of this video, I'm going to stop here. But normally I keep wrapping it around and around and around and around. And sometimes I have to do it a couple of times to make sure that I get enough fringe. So I just cut my yarn. Now, how many strands you use is completely up to you. For this particular scarf, I do want to use 3 strands. So I very conveniently have 3 strands here. So I just, I got a mess over here. All right, so to attach my fringe, I insert my hook into the bottom of the scarf there, and then I'm just going to make sure that this is even. Okay, this is nice and even. I just pop all 3 of those strands onto my hook and pull through. And once I have a loop big enough to work with, I just pull the ends through just like that. So the next piece of fringe I'll do will be probably about here, and I'll just do, you know, intervals like this all the way across, and then I'll do that on the other end of the scarf as well. But that is it for this tutorial, you guys. I really hope you enjoyed making this arrow scarf. This was a really fun project for me, and honestly, I'm a little sad that it's springtime and it's probably too warm to wear this now, so I'm gonna have to wait till this winter to wear it. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye for now.